Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I have award-winning director Ansel Faraj with us today.
Thanks for having me, Travis.
Pleasure to meet you. Thanks for coming here today. So I see that you've been actually in the filmmaking game since the age of 6 years old.
Yeah, yeah, I've been doing it for a very long time. Um, I grew up loving the Universal monster movies and just like watching Turner Classic Movies. Uh, and when I was 5 years old, my parents took me to see the Phantom of the Opera, the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, long, long before they did the feature film, and when the show was still like dark and scary and gothic before it became very glittery and fangirly romanticized. And I was just like, whoa, how'd they do that? How'd they do that? How'd they do that? I want to do that. By the end of the show, I was just like, that's for me. And then there was no film, as I had mentioned before. So I started, seeing the original, the Lon Chaney and Claude Rains and Herbert Lom Phantoms, and that put me on the path to just loving classic film and classic horror movies, and I haven't looked back since.
Been a horror fan ever since. And I see that also that you released your first actual big budget horror flick at age 21 in
I wouldn't,
2015.
yeah, I wouldn't call it big budget, but it's still low budget.
It had a
But
budget, yes.
yeah, my first professional feature, Doctor Mabuse. It's a sort of a gothic film noir, inspired by the character of Dr. Mabuse. Fritz Lang, the famous German film director, had done three films about this character back in the silent era and the early talkies, and I had seen those because, as I said, I grew up uh, basically in front of Turner Classic Movies, and I never went to film school. I'm self-taught, and so everything that I know comes from just absorbing film and doing my own research on. There was books from the library I used to check out how to do film effects and makeup effects and things like that, and I just devoured that as a kid. So yeah. Anyway, I saw the original Mabuza films when I was younger, and I'd always had this idea for a new Dr. Mabuza film, and I wrote an outline for a script when I was 14 years old, and I had it in my drawer. And then various circumstances allowed me to then make the film when I was 20, and I was lucky enough to get some of the alumni from the TV show Dark Shadows to play
Nice.
roles in the film. Jerry Lacey plays Dr. Mabuza. Catherine Lee Scott and Laura Parker played these sort of witchy psychic sisters. And suddenly, Fangora magazine was interviewing me, and it was very surreal. And then the film was released theatrically in a limited theatrical window. Yeah, in 2013, and I was 21, and then we made another, and it just kept going.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah.
so what are some challenges? Because there's a lot of young individual or young filmmakers who are thinking about making a first horror flick. What are some challenges that you have ran into to being
Money.
so young? Money, oh yes, that's
Money.
the biggest one.
That is, you can do anything if you have money. You can do anything. You can get anyone. You can money. It's money. And so I've I don't have money. I don't come from a privileged upscale family. I don't come from a family with industry connections. I have none of that. So all I mean, I've been making movies since I was 6, and I finally begged my parents for Christmas to get me a camcorder, and I would make movies with my action figures and my Legos. And then as I got older, friends from school, and so everything that I know how to do, I've learned myself, and so I've become creative with how to achieve things with no money. Also, you write what you know that you can accomplish. So that's been always like a guiding rule even today. Well, I still don't have money today, but I have a little bit more than I did back then. But I mean, this is also this is really terrible what I'm about to say.
Right.
Advice for people that want to do movies and make movies: don't get into this industry. This industry is awful. Like, I've been in it now for a very long time, and I have seen a lot, and I have been in rooms for meetings with studio personnel, and this industry sucks. Nobody, as William Goldman, the famous screenwriter, says, nobody knows anything in Hollywood. This is so true. Nobody knows anything. And now with streaming, with what's going on currently in the industry, with the strikes, with the all the restrictions that you have, and all these new impositions of you can't tell a certain story because of X, Y, and Z. Like, just these limitations on imagination drive me insane. Like, if you want to tell a story about whomever, write the damn story. Just because you're a certain person of a, like, so what? It's, don't limit your imagination. That's one thing. But this industry sucks. This industry is awful and brutal and ruthless, and it will eat you alive. So don't do this unless you absolutely need to, and absolutely cannot do anything else. And it's, yeah, I mean, that's my honest truth. It can, when you are on set and the light is, you're losing the lights, and you got to get this set up, and it's going to take 15 minutes, and you got to, like, there's nothing more fun and more like magic about, the creation of it. But the business, the money, the selling of product, and having to deal with marketing and promote, like, it's awful. It sucks. So don't do it if you just think that you'd like to try your hand at it. It's not what people hype it up to be. It's brutal.
I've heard from.
I'm sorry for that rant.
No, it's perfect. I've heard from many directors, actually, when it comes to the marketing and the distribution, it's a pain in the ass.
You will get screwed. You will get totally screwed.
And the distributors take majority of your money, and
Yes,
you walk away with nothing.
I have horror stories. it's,
Oh.
it's brutal.
It is.
Especially these larger, I mean, the studio system is totally broken now. So now you have Amazon Studios, you have Apple, you have all these conglomerates that have taken over to do film production. And I mean, I'm just in lame. I mean, yeah, I've totally gotten screwed from the major streaming platforms. You get paid. I mean, this is why the writers are on strike right now. This is why, the guilds are in an uproar. There's no money in streaming. They don't care about you. They don't even care about the main, the big budget product that they make. They don't care. They have so much money. They pay themselves so much money. You're nothing.
Because I also even say they don't care about the quality. I mean,
they don't care about the quality either. Yeah, that's why we have shit that we get now.
I did
get a very candid interview, Travis.
So I do Tubi. I interview up and coming filmmakers who majority have Tubi movie, and I'm a huge Tubi fan. I love watching the good, bad, and ugly. Yeah, and Tubi is filled with more bad movies than they are decent ones.
Yeah.
But they just push. But I've even noticed that with even Netflix and Amazon, their story starting going that route where
Netflix, I think, is worse. Netflix throws major money behind crap.
Like, oh yeah.
I can't remember the last time I watched a Netflix show. And I used to watch Netflix a lot. I mean, I'm sure as you did too. There was a moment there in time where Netflix was gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
Prime has a lot of crap too.
Prime has a lot of crap.
I will say though, just as a lover of older film and whatnot, something I do really like about TV, like when I was coming up, the VHS era, there was you'd go to your mom and pop video store, and they would have a really good selection of older films or horror movies or cult films and stuff. And then there were still numerous films that you would read about in movie magazines or in film books and stuff that just were like completely inaccessible. And now they're all on Tubi. They have Curse of the Crimson Altar, and they have Nosferatu in Venice, and like they have all this. I tell this younger friend of mine, I'm like, dude, you are so lucky, you don't even realize. Like, you just want to watch a certain thing, you click a button, it's there.
They have all the classic horror films. I grew up in the
Correct.
80s, and so I have all the classic horror films that I want to see on Tubi. That's why I'm such a Tubi guy. And
Yeah.
they have there's a lot of low budget horror films that are on Tubi that are excellent. Um, I've I've watched one of yours recently, Loon Lake, which is, we're going to talk about that shortly. But there are some gems on the streaming networks, but I think they get bogged down with the big name Tubi, I mean not Tubi, Netflix movies, like the one with Jamie Foxx with the vampires. That was horrible.
It
And
was
Adam
horrible.
Sandler movies. Like, if you watch Netflix and Netflix exclusive movies or their
Yeah.
movies, they're a bunch of crap.
It is. Yeah, it is. Prime too. I mean, I'm
Prime
gonna
as
say.
well.
Yeah, but they're just throwing money at, they're throwing tomatoes on the wall that are very, very expensive tomatoes, and they don't care. And and then it's very annoying for like someone like me. I'm an independent filmmaker, and it's like, yo, I can make you guys a lot of money because I'm not making crap. Like, I mean, yeah, and but that trade off of, okay, well, if you do that, then you're basically selling your soul to these companies, and they're still gonna screw you over.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe, you might have a little more resources to play with, so to
Yes.
speak.
All right, so let's jump into Loon Lake. So
All
I had
right.
the privilege of watching Loon Lake. Now, let me let everybody know, Loon Lake is on Tubi, but there's two Loon Lakes. You're gonna want to watch the one that was in from 2019.
2019. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Um,
it the artwork looks. We're not just on Tubi. We're also on Prime. We're also on Blu-ray. The artwork looks like this. So
yes.
I don't know if that's coming clear through or not, but yeah,
I'm not gonna
2019.
I'm not gonna bash the other one because I might be interviewing them soon. But but yes, watch it. It's a movie that gives an interesting spin on the witch genre of horror. So, what was some of your inspiration for this
Well,
movie?
the film is based on a real Minnesota folktale. So I always wanted to make a folk horror film like Witchfinder General, Blood on Satan's Claw, which is on Tubi, The Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man. Yeah, there's the Nicolas Cage one, but uh, and my filmmaking partner Nathan Wilson, who is the lead in the film, he grew up in Minnesota, 10 minutes away from this haunted cemetery, the Loon Lake Cemetery, and back there, this is a thing. They totally are invested in this legend of Mary Jane, the Witch of Loon Lake. Um, People have said they've gone out to this cemetery. And crazy things have happened. So the legend is, it took 3 chops for Mary Jane's head to come off, and if you cross her grave 3 times, she will come back, and you will die a violent, horrible death. And as long as I've known Nate, he's been like, "Oh, I've always wanted to make a movie. Like, I've always wanted to make a movie about Mary Jane. I've always wanted to make." And so then one day we just finished a love story, Will and Liz, which is also on Tubi. It's also on Prime. And because I don't just make horror movies, I try to work in
Yeah.
various genre. And I said, well, dude, what about we do this witch story? And so then we sat down and we started writing it. And so it's all based on this real Minnesota folktale. And so everything that you kind of see in the film is, we shot it on location back in Minnesota. We drove cross country to go make the film. We shot it on his old parents' farm. We shot it in the town where he grew up and where they believe in this thing, and at the cemetery itself. And it was just, yeah, an opportunity to make a folk horror film, which I'd always wanted to do. And it was the best filmmaking experience I've ever had, because we were not making a movie in Los Angeles, where I mean, LA is an industry town. Nobody cares about what you're doing, and they'll charge you an arm and a leg and your head for to go shoot in their diner or whatnot, versus Minnesota. They don't really make movies out there, and so it's like, oh, the people from Hollywood are coming out to make a movie, and they would all come up to us and they're like, we've been waiting our whole lives to see this story come to life. Like and the film was supposed to be, it's a very small town. The film was supposed to be a secret, so of course the entire town knew, and they all wanted to be part of it. They all were like, come to our house, come to our store, you can film here, you can film there. And they were so welcoming and so supportive, and it was magic. It was so wonderful, and I mean, for all of us, it was like the best experience we ever had. It was so fun, so much fun.
That's awesome. Now, will we see a Loon Lake 2, or are we going to end it at?
Well, we we wrote a sequel. We wrote a sequel actually on the drive back from Minnesota to California. And I mean, we definitely have ideas. I will tell you, as we started this conversation with streaming and with money, the film came out. So we shot it in 2018. The film came out October 2019. It debuted on Amazon. It then jumped to Tubi, and then it's on various platforms, not just Tubi. And there's a Blu-ray. And the pandemic rolled along, and how do I say this politically? A streaming giant who sends rocket ships up yonder decided to drop all whoever was on their streaming platform from X amount of money per minute per view to basically 3 cents per view. So we got screwed in our return, but we would love to make a sequel. We would love to, but we need money. We need the funds to go off and do that again. It was an expensive film to make, and I mean, I would love to even do like an anthology series of various ghosts, because everybody has had. They would come up to us and they tell us all their own personal stories of when they went out to the cemetery. And I'd love to do like sort of some kind of anthology series of ghost tales of Loon Lake. But that there's still time. We'll see what the future holds.
Okay, I'll definitely be on look out for that. So what's next? And so what are you working on next?
Well, I just this year a film, it's a science fiction noir, Todd Tarantula. It's a project that I had been working on for 12 years. We shot it last year. It debuted at festivals this year, and it is streaming exclusively on Tubi. Basically, after the experience we had on Loon Lake, I said I'm not doing that again. But it's Todd Tarantula. It's a psychedelic, rotoscoped acid trip of a film, incorporating urban mythology of Los Angeles. This young man, Todd Tarantula, his bike goes missing, and that leads him down a rabbit hole with all these very eccentric characters to recover his bike, but also he uncovers this conspiracy, I will call it, involving his father and this very nefarious looking guy played by David Selby, also from Dark Shadows, and sort of the history of Los Angeles. And it's also available on Blu-ray. That's the poster art. You can find that on Tubi if you want to watch it now. Please support independent film. I'm very proud of that movie as well. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but so that's now streaming, and right now we are in production on a comedy, The Great Nick D, which is about a washed up 90s porn star who's now a Venice Beach nobody, and he's on an odyssey to restart his mainstream acting career in order to win back his lost love, who is now an Academy Award nominated actress. She's basically Meryl Streep, kind of. and he's nobody. And it's this crazy comedy. We've got David Selby once again. We got Olan Jones from Edward Scissorhands and Natural Born Killers. Catherine Lee Scott, Lisa Richards, film director Sam Irvin, who did Elvira's Haunted Hills. He plays a role on it, and it's been really fun. And we're still shooting, and that will hopefully be arriving on streaming platforms in 2024.
Awesome. All right, so I'm gonna give you a throw-up question. Who's one actor or actress that you would love to work with?
Oh man, Nicolas Cage is
Oh,
one.
I
I know that's like,
I'm a Nicolas Cage fan. I love Nicolas Cage.
he's so good. I mean, everybody, like, I mean, I don't want to say everybody makes fun of Nicolas Cage, but there is a cult of Nicolas Cage. I mean, there was the Unbearable Weakness, or Unbearable.
I love that movie. Yes.
The title, it's a title.
Unbearable. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I watched it on Amazon.
Unbearable Weight of Talent, I think was the title. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a Universal Monsters guy. I loved his performance in Renfield as Dracula.
That's the only thing I liked about that movie. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted more of him and Nicholas Hoult and less about the mobsters and the cops. Like, I don't care.
I agree.
Give us more of the two of them. They were wonderful. And I mean, Nicolas Cage is somebody. There's so many people. I mean, he'd be fun. I think also just because he makes unique, crazy choices, and that would just be fun to play with. I mean, now my mind is blanking because there are so many wonderful actors out there that I would love to. This is a very deep cut name that I'll say, but Marjo Gortner. He used to be a child evangelist back in the 30s, and then in the 70s they did a documentary about him. It's also on Tubi, called Marjo. And then he was in movies like Earthquake. He was in Bobby Joe and the Outlaw. He was in The Food of the Gods. And he did, various cult things. And I know he lived in Venice for a bit. And just as like I don't know, I would love to like have him in something. Like I said, that's a very deep cut like name.
You're the first person who said Nicolas Cage. Have you seen the movie Mandy?
Yes, Mandy was great.
It's amazing. I love that movie.
The colors. I mean, everybody loves like when it gets really crazy in the second half. I personally, I mean, it was fun. I personally love that first half where it was just like quiet and dreamy and just like. I'm gonna say I'm a big Lovecraft guy. I have a film, The Last Case of August T. Harrison. It's a Venice Beach film noir involving Lovecraftian mythology. It's also streaming on Tubi. It's also on DVD. The Color Out of Space that he did with Richard Stanley. I thought that was a great movie. I went to the premiere of that in Hollywood, and I was like, Richard Stanley has done. One day I'm going to make my version of the Dunwich Horror. It's happening.
That'd be amazing.
It's gonna be that and Phantom of the Opera. Like those are my end games. But Richard Stanley did what I want. He took me to Arkham County. He took me to the woods and the forest. When I was like, shit, it's brilliant. And I thought Nicolas Cage was funny and creepy, and the film was trippy, and
it was
a good Lovecraft film. And
I don't know why it hasn't gotten that much love. It's an amazing movie.
It was. I mean, I thought it was a lot of fun.
They even came out with Mandy Funko Pops, and I had the whole collection. That's because I love that movie so much. I mean, I love that movie, and like everybody who's ever watched the movie was like, that movie is stupid, or like the last. They say only the last part was good. No, I thought the whole entire movie was.
The whole thing. You need the first half to get to the second half. The first half was this love story.
It was an amazing villain in that movie. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Linus Roach from Batman Begins. He was Thomas Wayne, and he was in the. Okay, I'll give you another actor. I would love to work with Helena Bonham Carter.
That's a good one.
I mean, Need I say more?
That is true.
She can do great English upscale drama. She can do kooky and crazy. I mean, when I was a kid, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, when that came out, like that was a good movie. Everybody also always like craps on that. I thought that's a great film, great soundtrack. The way that Kenneth Branagh would like spin his camera around them.
Yep.
Good movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, tell everybody how we can find you, Ansel.
You can. I don't really do social media. I do have a Facebook that I use to like promote my stuff. You can check out my website, Hollinsworth Productions. I'll spell it HOLLINSWORTH Productions.com. You can find all of my films there, my short films, all the films that are available on Blu-ray and DVD. There's more, but I only just grabbed these three. You can find them where they're streaming. They're on Tubi, they're on Prime, they're on Freevee, they're on something else. I mean, there's also so many platforms that exist today. They're out there. You can find my stuff.
You got an Amazon Fire Stick? Just type it in.
Yeah. That's where you can. I've got a YouTube channel that's got a lot of shorts and trailers, and you can watch my anthology series Theater Fantastique there, which is a sort of a horror anthology show. We did various stories. You can watch Detective Adam Sarah Chronicles, which is like a comic book epic, 5 installments. Yeah, it's all there. Hollinsworth Productions.
All right, I'm gonna have you back on next year to talk about your retired porn star.
Yeah,
movie.
The Great Nick D.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
It's really crazy. There's a musical number in it. Like, that's how crazy it is.
So yeah, I enjoy that. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. You take care. I'll see you guys next time.